All right, so today we're going to start subtracting integers, which we haven't talked about. So there's a little twist, and it's kind of weird. Subtraction symbols no longer mean subtraction symbols in our world, but I think the best way to do it is just kind of show you what I'm talking about. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to model on our board this idea of 2 combined with a -3. So the first thing I want you to understand is this is not like a positive number and a negative number on this board. This is standing for like a plus sign, like I have a plus sign right here in the middle. All right. This is going to be if there's a minus sign in the middle. So these are our plus signs and minus signs. They are not positive, negative. So I just want you to understand that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to model this. And so I'm going to put 2 positives up here because there's nothing to be added. And I'm going to add 3 negatives. And you'll notice I can just switch over the color and makes it negative. All right. So notice how I put everything up here because we're adding these together because of this plus sign. And now I just do my normal stuff that we've done before. I can create some 0 pairs. So +1 and -1 gone. So those cancel each other out. I have another 0 pair. So these cancel each other out. And so we are left with just this idea of 2 plus -3 equals a -1. Okay? So not too earth-shattering. This is kind of just a little review of what we've done in the past. So no big deal there. So let's get into the new stuff. So the first one that I want to do is something that should make sense to you because you've done this your whole life and didn't really even understand what you were doing. But so here's what we got. So we're going to do 4 minus 3. And I know all of you know the answer. You're like, why are we doing this if we all know the answer? Because I want you to understand what we're doing today. So if I was to model this, what we're going to do is, now, notice this time, it's a minus sign in the middle. So we're going to put everything down. So we're going to put our stuff down here. So the first thing we do is our +4. So we don't have anything to do with that. So we're just going to shove that up here. So that's a +4. All right, now we are going to subtract 3. So since it's a subtraction problem, we're going to put it down here. And we put this. All right, so understand what we got going on. So we got +4, so we just put it up here, minus a +3. Now, in our world for the rest of your life, we're not going to call this a subtraction symbol. It's now going to be called an opposite of symbol. So anything that lives up here is now going to be opposite. So now instead of being a +1, the opposite is a -1. So what we're going to do is put it up here, we make it a -1. This here, the opposite of a +1 is a -1. And we change it. The opposite of +1 is a -1. Then we change it. And then we'll notice when we do this, we create a bunch of 0 pairs. And these are all gone off the board. So take them off. That way you don't worry about seeing them. So there's all of our 0 pairs, which are now gone. And our answer, just like we expected, ends up being a +1. So nothing earth-shattering. You expected that answer, but I want you to understand how we're going to use this board. All right. Hold on. I just got to get with my erasing things. All right. So let's make it just a little bit harder. The main thing is how to set these up on the board and how to think about these. And then we're going to talk about something. All right. So the next one that we want to do is let's just switch these numbers around and see what happens. So this time we're going to do 3 minus 4. All right, equals. So once again, we start with 3 positives. So they're going to go up here. So we have our 3 positives. Now we're subtracting 4, so we're going to put the stuff down here. So we're going to subtract a +4. So we're putting them down here. Good and good. All right, so we got this set up. So we got 3 positives. We're subtracting off 4 positives. Now remember, this means opposite of. So we're going to take the opposite of all these. So I'm going to shove it upstairs, but I'm going to do the opposite. Shove it upstairs, do the opposite. So all I'm doing is making these all opposite of. Now we go through and we do our 0 pairs. We notice there's a set of 0 pairs. So we can take them off the board. Here is a set of 0 pairs. So we can take them off the board. Here is another set of 0 pairs, so we take them off the board. We notice our answer is now -1. The answer to this is now -1. So notice what we're doing. Anything that lives down here, we're putting up here and flipping it because it's the opposite of. All right, so let's try some more. How about we try -2 minus 6? So we have a -2 minus a 6. All right, so the first thing we do is switch this over. So we have a -2, so I'm going to put it up top. All right, that's where we start, and they're negative. So there's my -2 minus 6. So since we're subtracting, I put it down here, and we have 6 positives. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so notice what we've modeled. -2, subtraction, so I'm putting it down here, +6. So since this means opposite of, we have to change all of these. So I put it up here, making an opposite. Put it up here, making an opposite. So all I'm doing is I'm flipping them up, but I have to do the opposite. So I'm changing their signs over. So now, what do we notice our answer is? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 negatives. So my answer to this is now a -8. All right, so I know, kind of weird, it's different. All right, so this is what happens when we subtract with integers. So now subtraction symbols are going to be these things called opposite of. All right, so let's take a look at another one. So let's switch those around just like we did before. And we are going to start out with 6, and we're going to subtract off a -2. All right. So let's set up our board. So first thing is I have 6 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positives. Let's make them all positive. So we'll click them over. And then subtraction. So everything else is going to go down here. We have a -2. So notice I've got my 6 positives. It says subtraction. So I'm living down here. And they're 2 negatives. So subtraction symbol always means opposite of. So I need to do its opposite. So I'm going to make that into a positive. I make that into a positive. Notice how our answer now becomes a +8 because we have 8 positives sitting up here on top. All right. So notice every time something's down here, subtraction means opposite. We got to flip it up here. But the key is we have to change the sign, change what it looks like. All right. Here, let me get me out of the way so we have a little more space. So the next thing is, let's try this. Let's try a -3 opposite of symbol, and then a -4. All right. So the first thing always lives up here. So here is my -3. And then down here, because it says minus, so we're going to put it in the minus, and they're all negatives. All right, so now here's what we're going to do. We're going to take these. They live in the opposite of area, so we have to take them up here, flip them upside down. All right, so we're flipping them each and every time. Now notice what we got. We've got some 0 pairs here, so those cancel out. Oh, there's another set of 0 pairs, so they cancel out. Here's another set of 0 pairs. These cancel out. So we are left with a +1 for an answer when we are done with this. All right, let's make this just a smidge harder. Let's put in 3 numbers. So how about this? Let's do a +2, combined with a +3 minus 4. All right, so let's set up our board. So we always start up here with my 2 positives. Now notice we have a plus symbol, so we're going to put them up here. And I have 3 positives. All right, so here's my first term, the 2. We're adding, so it goes up here. And now we put our 3 here. And then in our subtraction, it's going to live down here. We have 4 positives. I need one more. So this is what this expression looks like. There's my 2 plus 3 positives minus 4, whoops, those are all supposed to be positives, All right, living down here in the opposite of, and we have 4 positives. So now, anytime we live down here in the opposite of area, we just take care of it. We move them up top. But when I move them up, I have to change them. So they become negatives. So switching it and switching it. Notice we've now created some 0 pairs. So this cancels out. These 2 cancel out. These 2 cancel out. These 2 cancel out. So I am now left with a positive 1 for an answer. All right, so let's do one more, and then I kind of want to show you how we're going to talk about these for the rest of the year. Whoops, don't want that. Let's get rid of that. There we go. All right, I was trying to get that off of there. All right, so the last one let's do is this. We have a negative 2 minus a negative 3 minus a positive 2. All right, so let's get this thing set up. So the first thing is our first answer, our first term always goes up here, and it's negative 2, so we make it negative 2. Now, the next one is living down the opposite of area. So we're going to put 3 negatives in the opposite of area. So 1, 2, 3. The next number is going to live in the opposite of area, and it's 2 positives. So 1, 2. So notice I've just modeled this expression. I have 2 negatives up here, living in the opposite of area, and I have a negative 3. And then this term here lives in the opposite of, and it's 2 positives. So remember, anytime anything lives in the opposite of area, we have to do its opposite. So I'm going to flip this up, and I change it. Take it up here, 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 change it. Notice we now have 0 pairs. So these come off the board. Here's another 0 pair, and take it off the board. Another 0 pair, can take it off the board. And notice my answer ends up being negative 1 when I am all said and finished. All right, so you're not going to have this handy-dandy board with you every time that we subtract integers. So I want to show you something, but I wanted to explain why it works the way that it does. So anytime we see subtraction for the rest of our life, it's always going to mean an opposite of symbol. So when I read this, notice there's a plus symbol here. So we don't change anything. It's just 2 combined with a negative 3. Notice here's my opposite of symbol. So I read it like this. For the opposite of a positive 3. Well, the opposite of a positive 3 is a negative 3. And then we change this to the combination symbol. Notice now we can just use our regular integer rules. 4 plus negative 3 is a positive 1. Here is an opposite of symbol. So we read it. 3, the opposite of a positive 4, is a negative 4. Change it to a combination symbol. We use our integer rules. 3 combined with a negative 4 is a negative 1. I'm going to change this color so it's a little bit easier to see. Now, 6, the opposite of a negative 2. Well, the opposite of a negative 2 is a positive 2. And then we change this to a combination symbol. Positive 6 and positive 2 is now positive 8. Negative 3, the opposite of a negative 4, makes this a positive 4. And then negative 3 combined with a positive 4 is a positive 1. It's not a negative 1. That's just my equal sign. Got a little sloppy there. Sorry about that. Now, when I read this one from left to right, notice what we have. Positive 2 combined with a positive 3. Now we have the opposite of a positive 4, which makes it a negative 4. And then we put in a combination symbol. Something was not... Oh, that's right. Sorry. 2 plus 3 is 5. And then 5 plus negative 4 would be a negative 1. All right, down here we got a whole bunch of opposites. So let's see. Negative 2, the opposite of a negative 2 is a positive 3. Combination symbol. The opposite of a positive 2 makes us now a negative 2. Change it to a combination symbol. So we now have negative 2 combined with a positive 3 is a positive 1. And then we have that now combined with a negative 2. And positive 1 and negative 2 is a negative 1. We just go back to our combination rules. So I want you to see this board to understand how we flip them up and we change the sign. just like everything to the right of the minus sign, we changed and we switched. So first step today, and excuse me as I have to go to, I did not download this and I should have, and my apologies. Go to this, let's see, it is this one, and then we need to download it so we can turn it around. Whoops. Download it. Oh, there we go. And now I can flip it. All right, so we've got this worksheet right here. And notice we've got a lot of opposite of. Actually, everything is opposite of. So here's how I would like to teach this to you, and here's what I would like for you to do. Uh-oh, is it not going to let me write on here? It is not. Hold on 1 second. Let's see if I can't get around this. All right, so now I think if I bring this up, let's see if I get my drawing tools back. Turn this around. I think I got here so I can add some notes. Good. So here's what we have going on here. So when I read this, this is 4. The opposite of a positive 6 makes this now a negative 6. And then we change it to a combination symbol. And then we just use our integer rules. 4 plus negative 6 is a negative 2. When I do this one, 3, the opposite of a negative 1, now turns this into a positive 1. We always put a combination symbol. 3 plus positive 1 gives us a positive 4. As I go through here, 4, the opposite of a negative 8 is now a positive 8. And 4 plus positive 8 is a positive 12. So every single one of these, because notice they all have these opposite of symbols in them, we're going to change the number to the right. It's just like we're flipping it up on top of our board. Negative 14, the opposite of a positive 10, now makes this a negative 10. And then we use our combination rules. Negative 14 and negative 10 gives us negative 24. So the first thing that I want you to do is you're going to go through and you're going to answer all of these. Make sure that you find the answers down below, because that way we make sure that we are doing it correct. The big thing that we talked about today is this opposite of symbol, that we're going to change everything. So 30 and the opposite of a positive 9 now makes this a negative 9. And then we end up subtracting, makes this a positive 21. All right, so we're going to go through changing all of these because these are all opposite of symbols. Hopefully that makes sense. I know we just kind of threw our world upside down, but remember, this is no longer a subtraction symbol in our world. Now this is called an opposite of symbol. And when we read it from left to right, it says 4 is the opposite of a positive 3. So it turns into a negative 3. And our answer is a positive 1. Same answer we've always gotten. But remember, the thing that makes it different is if I flip it, that's a horrible looking 3. If I flip it around, notice what it does. 3, the opposite of a positive 4 is a negative 4. Combination symbol. Now becomes a negative 1. If I put a minus sign on the 4, so 3 minus, sorry about my 3. All right, when I do this, we call this an opposite of symbol. So 3, the opposite of a negative 4, now turns this into a positive 4. So all because, or positive 7. 3 plus positive 4 is a positive 7. So all because there's a subtraction symbol in the middle does not mean that we always subtract anymore. We have to go back to our combination rules. All right. So thank you. Hopefully this makes a little bit of sense. I know it's a little bit different than what we have done in the past. So hopefully it makes sense. Thank you and have a good day.